I don't usually directly compare games, but we're going to give it a try, so here we go. As long as there's been video games, there's been racing video games. Gran Turismo 7 and Forza Horizon 5 are two of the latest first-party racing titles from PlayStation and Xbox respectively. Now you may be asking, why compare these games? They don't approach racing the same way, and a direct comparison wouldn't be very valuable. This is true, but may I counter that argument with, shut up, this is my YouTube channel and these are the two latest AAA racing games. As soon as Forza Motorsport pops its head back up, I'll be sure to make a more like comparison between it and GT7. Until then, let's get into it. There are a few specific areas we're going to focus on. Graphics and performance, car and event variety, presentation, gameplay, technical depth, novice support, and overall fun. Will there be a winner at the end of this? I don't know, maybe. Depends on how well this goes. Graphics and performance. So this is actually a difficult one to directly compare. Gran Turismo is running on a PS5, and Forza Horizon is on a PC with a Ryzen 7 5800 and an RTX 3060. And in general, digital cars have come a long way and look incredibly real, so this really comes down to frame rate and environment. Considering Forza Horizon is pretty much all environment, let's start there. Mexico is large and diverse, textures are detailed and vegetation is dense. However, there are a few instances of pop-in, and draw distances aren't as far as I'd like, but overall, it's not a bad place to drive around for a few hours. Gran Turismo's environment is much less expansive and essentially covers the areas directly surrounding each track. Considering the immense amount of focus needed on every aspect of your car and performance, looking around at the scenery isn't a very common occurrence. That being said, the vegetation and the buildings as well as the fans surrounding the courses are all fine. You're hardly going to notice them, but it's not as detailed. As for frame rates, both are a solid 60 frames per second with no noticeable drops. But there is something rather interesting I did notice. Frame rate is really only noticed when the camera is moving and objects are moving on the screen. So, to fully appreciate a smooth frame rate, you need to see things moving smoothly. Well, there's one object that's constantly in view in both games. Your car. A relatively stationary object with regards to the camera, but it's slightly less so in Forza Horizon 5. There, the camera moves and is movable, and it naturally follows behind you as you drive, sometimes having to catch up to your movements. Gran Turismo 7 doesn't really do this. The camera is really fixed behind the car. The only other view is directly behind you, and this lessens the value of that smooth frame rate. You only really notice it when you spin out and crash, which you are not encouraged to do. So for performance and graphics, I'd say honestly it's a tie. Both run incredibly well, load times are short, and things are stable. The cars look impressive, and graphically both are stunning. Forza shows that better performance though, and makes it easier to appreciate it, but various minor glitches like particle effect failures and draw distance pop-in hold it back. Gran Turismo, while supporting more simple environments, is rock solid, but again, makes it harder to see the impressive tech. So, it's an even wash. Next, variety, event, and car. There are more than just races in both Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon. Both have a wide variety of other activities to spend time on. In Forza Horizon, there are stories, events, jumps, speed and drift zones, showcases, beauty spots, and multiplayer challenges scattered throughout the map. As you complete more events, you gain XP and credits, allowing you to open more sections of the expansive Horizon Festival. In Gran Turismo, the events outside the standard races include missions and driving schools, not nearly as much as Horizon, and many of these activities are required to progress forward and unlock more tracks. There's also a completely new thing called Music Rally, which has you competing against a beat, essentially. This is the most interesting and creative addition to the game. There's also more cars in Forza Horizon 5 than Gran Turismo 7, about 100 more actually. And while it's true that you may not explicitly feel this difference, you'll never really know. Most racing gamers have a small collection of their go-to vehicles, so it may not even matter to most. But it still is unfortunate that there is a smaller selection to discover and work with. A larger annoyance than the lack of cars is how Gran Turismo shows them to you to buy them. In order to look at the stock of cars to buy, you have to first choose what broad range of cars you want. There's basically three: used cars, new cars, and legendary cars. Legendary cars are millions of dollars, and there's only a few available at a time. Used cars are older and cheaper, but at least they're presented in a large list, easy to navigate. But new cars are purchased through what is called Brand Central. But instead of just showing a large list of available cars, First, you must select the manufacturer's region, then you choose the specific brand, then you have to go to their showroom. 3 menus for what should be 1, a trend we'll get into in a minute. So while both Gran Turismo 7 and Forza Horizon 5 have activities beyond just races, Forza simply has more. It also has more cars and makes those cars easily accessible to buy. I didn't go into exactly how Horizon sells its cars because there isn't much to say. You go to the auto show, you see the cars, you buy one. Forza wins. Presentation. This is how the game is set up and structures the available races and events. This may be one of the biggest differences between these two games. Forza Horizon 5 is an open-world game. The events and races are strewn across the large map and you select which one you want to do simply by driving to it. You can buy houses to manage your inventory, customize your character, and switch cars. You can also switch cars at any point while you're free roaming. Gran Turismo 7 is a menu-based game. Championships, missions, driving schools, races, and car maintenance is all available through the world map home base. You select what you want to do from your list of choices and go from there. Now, I don't think there's an objective winner here. If you want to just get down to business and race, GT7 has your back. Events are easy to find and progress is made through completing menus from the cafe. Nothing is really done by accident. Forza Horizon is far more loose. Some events like drift zones and speed cameras are activated simply by driving through them. So essentially, no menus at all. Progress is made not just by winning races, but just by driving. I personally prefer the Forza way. Sometimes the endless menus of Gran Turismo can get tedious when buying a car, but some could just as easily say that having to drive to each event is tedious and a waste of time, and that would be completely valid too. So I'm going to say that this one is a tie as well. Neither game does what they do bad. Each presents their information in a way that works well for their format, so everyone's a winner. What's next? Yes, gameplay. Forget what I said before, this is the place where these games differ the most. In a nutshell, Forza Horizon 5 is arcade-like. Gran Turismo 7 is a simulation. They say as much in their slogan, the real racing simulator. Gran Turismo has long prided itself on being the premier simulation racing game. What this means is that the cars are bound by the dumb laws of physics and handle as such. Corners must be taken at much slower speeds, spin-out and loss of control is far more common, and the real skill is knowing when less is more. Forza Horizon has you facing against cargo planes and trains, jumping off active volcanoes, and overall encourages wanton destruction and mayhem. Drifting and massive speed are standard practices, and spin-outs don't necessarily mean the end of a race. The skill here is knowing when more is too much, and the answer is that it never is. It's never too much. Gran Turismo is threading the needle. Forza Horizon is sledgehammering the wall. And while I love a good sledgehammer, I have to give this one to Gran Turismo. The attention to detail is what puts it over the top. The reason those dumb laws of physics are so important is that they are so hard to get right without it feeling unfair. And yes, there have been countless moments where I was ready to throw my controller at the TV because apparently I have a lead foot and crashed headfirst into a wall. Learning those rules is an incredible achievement. And when you finally ride the crest just right, it's amazing, unmatched, and you feel like a pro. The real racing simulator is the real deal. This next category is pretty obvious who wins: technical depth. It's Gran Turismo. The sheer vastness and depth in which you can explore and customize your car's parts, power levels, materials, intake are unmatched. You can easily dive deep into every square inch of your vehicle's engine, body, wheels, brakes, and more. Nothing could go untouched, and for the extreme racer, nothing will. Forza Horizon does allow for some of these things as well, but just not at this scale. The level of customization can be catered to your interest level. If you don't want to touch it at all, you don't have to. Parts can be switched out and upgrades are available, but the deep down nitty-gritty is left to Gran Turismo, as well it should be. Our second to last category is Novice Support. This means how easy is it for someone who has never played these games, or even a racing game in general, to just pick it up and play. Both games open with some general hand-holding to get you through the basics of driving, and beyond that, both continually provide feedback and tips on how to progress through events, drive better, and other general information. Gran Turismo does this with experts that run each pavilion space in the world map. There are also pro racers that provide feedback before and after races and driving school challenges to teach you things. Forza Horizon's continuing information is provided by either the festival operators through your radio or your AI assistant telling you of things nearby. Difficulty is flexible in both games as well, from braking assistance to a rewind button in Forza. These assists and more are able to be toggled on or off in order to aid your racing and allow for many levels of gamer to feel comfortable learning more. But Forza Horizon 5 is less daunting. One of the best ways to practice in a car is to drive that car as much as possible. The open world provides an endless sandbox to try new things and hone your skills. Trying to cut that corner just right? How about you run through it 17 times? Just bought a new car? Drive it really fast across that field to get a sense of its off-road ability. In Gran Turismo, you can still jump in and practice, but it's with the pretext of driving classes or a race. It's harder to play around with a new car, discovering its strengths and its quirks. It takes a level of determination to get completely comfortable before a new race, and while that determination is rewarded, for a complete novice, it may be too much to achieve right out of the gate. Forza Horizon 5 welcomes new players with its light approach and breezy style. Gran Turismo intimidates new players with massive amounts of customization and challenging driving. Forza wins this one. So here we are, 2 for Forza, 2 for Gran Turismo, 2 ties. Now it all comes down to this: overall fun. So which game is more fun? For me, it's Forza Horizon 5. Being able to mindlessly jump in and just drive is something I really appreciate. I like driving too fast down the road, crashing into walls and jumping off insanely huge ramps. Amassing hundreds of thousands of skill points during a skill song is perfectly palm sweat-inducing fun. Forza is a game that you can play leaning back. Gran Turismo requires your full attention and focus. It requires your devotion to its rules and insists on your patience, but that's okay. Officially, I'm going to say this is also a tie, thus coming to the conclusion that neither game is better than the other. But of course, that's how it was always going to be. These games are so good at what they do, they don't need to be better than the other. Gran Turismo 7 is the real racing simulator. Its thrills come from the details and ability to be absolutely perfect. Threading the needle has never been more exciting. Forza Horizon 5 is a really good time. It's silly and fun because it doesn't take itself very seriously, and it invites that silliness. Like I said at the beginning of this review, yes, these two games are difficult to directly compare because they're trying to do two different things, and they do those things really well. They don't need to be compared. So, why did I do this whole video if in the end there really was nothing to compare and there is no winner? I said this earlier too. Shut up! This is my YouTube channel.